For our innovative strategy, we chose standard-based grading. Standard-based grading is a different grading system that allows test performance to reflect a student's overall grade. SBG measures a student's progress related to certain learning standards. This type of grading allows students to demonstrate their understanding of the learning content without having to stress about homework.
The following interviewed Mr. Thomas, an administrator, and Mr. Velasquez, a chemistry teacher.
Tell us about standard-based grading.
I think it's got merits. Focus on skills, I think, is applicable like real world. I think each subject area has a different set of skills that you can kind of focus on. I think there are things that you can critique if you'd like. Some arguments can be made for holding kids accountable about not turning work in on time. Some arguments can be made regarding, I think that's one of the biggest knocks, right, is turning in assignments at a certain time or date. But I do think overall standards-based grading, when you do focus on like the skills involved in a content area, not just memorizing things, offers a different perspective to learning that is valuable as far as, especially like when looking at real world application of knowledge. We have our knowledge at our fingertips, right? It's how we use it, and that's, I think, lends itself to standards based. So that's where I would start. Yeah.
And would you want to change anything about it, or would you want to stop the whole grading system completely?
So are you asking would I want to change it or to just get rid of it?
Yeah, would you want to change like anything specific? Or just get rid of it and then go back to
I just think that there's a reasonable conversation to be had about what are the strengths and what are some of the challenges that teachers are having using it. I don't think it's something that would need to be scrapped. I think it's more a matter of better understanding and finding a way to fit that to your classroom as a teacher. I think every teacher is different, and I think that's what makes teaching cool, is teachers you want them to be themselves and have fun doing what they do. And if they can find a way to fit those skills into their practice and find a way to kind of close some of the gaps in terms of those challenges, I guess my point is I think you can find a way to meet in the middle on some of these challenging issues with standards-based grading and make it something that works for everybody rather than something that has to be all one way or all the other way. And I think, unfortunately, we live in a society right now that it's become very popular to have to pick sides, and I don't really think this is one of those instances. I think it's something that's a little more complex than that, and it has there's a range of possible outcomes, right? And both of you have me in class, I spend a lot of time talking about ranges of outcomes rather than definitive outcomes. I don't think it has to be a definitive outcome.
How do you feel about standard-based grading?
First of all, these questions are all just an opinion on my end. Okay, there's 100 teachers, so I'm only one. For standard-based grading, also known as SBG, I disagree with that. I think it's better to go an old style of teaching, and I think it's important for projects to be counted rather than just being assessments.
Would you want to change anything about it, or would you want to stop it completely?
If I can, I think it has some good aspects to it. I'm not saying it isn't. One of the good aspects about it is that you're allowed to retake quizzes or assessments. I think that's a good idea. But I also feel that the zero is important. So if you don't take it, if you don't show up to class, there's no reason for you to get a 50%. And that's not fair to other students. Other students who try should get what they deserve. But those who don't come to school or don't come to class, they need to get, they don't get points for that.
With standard-based grading, what do you feel is a better grading system?
I think a modified schedule or modified grading system would be good. I think there's some good aspects of SBG, but I think the majority of it is not good for students. It might be good for teachers. It gets less grading for us, but I think overall I think it's not as good for students to learn and be a good representative of their grade. It's very heavy on assessments, and I think there's other ways for students to demonstrate mastery than just showing that they can do an ABCD test.